Hi everyone, how are you today? I'm back after a bit of a break, which I took for the Christmas and New Year holidays. Hope you all had wonderful holidays, by the way. I got a lot of great time to read and just spend time with family, a couple of friends, socially distanced. So it was really, really nice. Now I feel re-energized and I've gone and given myself a New Year's resolution to read 100 books, which is probably not super realistic, but with all that said, I'm going to go over some books. My first and probably only book haul of the year, since I already have quite a few that I need to read on my shelf. But these are some I'm hoping and planning to read this year, and some that I'm already reading, so let's just jump right into it. First one here is Bambi by Felix Salten. Bambi, A Life in the Woods. This is the original story, which inspired the Disney movie. I read this a couple of years ago. I thought it was a wonderful book. It was originally published in 1926. What I noticed when I was reading it is how beautiful the prose was and how sweet the story was. It's far more developed, I would say, than the Disney movie. So it's a great book, not just for kids, but for kids at heart or even adults that like kind of beautiful nature prose. And a very tender story of Bambi. And this is actually a series, so I do plan to read the rest of the books at some point. That was one I got from a local bookstore, which I had a chance to visit. The other one I got from that bookstore was David Copperfield. This was actually a pretty good deal for this big chunky book, and I've started reading this. So after reading A Christmas Carol on the YouTube channel, I just fell in love with Dickens again. I wanted to get back into his works, which I haven't read in so long, since I was like 12. And so I thought David Copperfield would be a good one to start with because I love the story from different television adaptations I've seen, television and film. So I thought, why not read David Copperfield at long last? I've already read the first chapter where it talks about his birth and the visitation of his eccentric Aunt Trotwood, Betsy Trotwood, and I was just like, my brain was already churning thinking about how his life would have been so much different if she had stayed in his life and defended him from some of the things that would come later. So that was kind of a fun mind-bendy introduction to David Copperfield, and so I will plan to do a video on this. Maybe a couple videos on it as I read it this spring or winter, actually. Already thinking about spring. Next book I got, and this was a secondhand find. I was so happy to find it. This is Frederick Douglass, My Bondage and My Freedom. I read a biography about Douglass when I was a small child, and I always thought in the back of my mind I should read something by him. So I'm really glad that I found this. I think it'll be great to read his own words and narrative about his life. I'm not sure how this compares to his other book, The Narrative of the Life. So we'll see. Maybe I'll have to read both of those. This book had been at the bookstore a while, another secondhand book, and I decided to go ahead and get it. It's Beat to Quarters, the first book in publication order from the Horatio Hornblower series by C.S. Forster. C.S. Forster was, most known for this Hornblower series, and it's about a young man who goes through the ranks in the Royal Navy, late 1700s, early 1800s. So this book is set in 1808. And I've actually read the first two chronological books, Mr. Midshipman Hornblower and Lieutenant Hornblower. I actually preferred the TV series. I'd almost say my favorite costume drama of all time, just because the characterizations are so beautifully fleshed out and the acting is brilliant, the script is witty and so deep at times. So anyway, all that to say, I do want to read the entire series at some point, and I think I will actually go back now and read this book, which was written first. This is a secondhand book from eBay. This is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I read this, or I should say I tried to read it back in 2012, and I just had trouble getting into it. I'm so glad that I have Goodreads notes because I didn't realize this was actually the first Ishiguro book I tried to read. And if I had given up at that point, then I wouldn't have become a fan of his like I am now. So I'm going to give this another chance, anticipating his new release, Clara and the Sun, which is coming, I think, next spring, or this spring, which I'm super looking forward to. This is a dark science fiction dystopian novel. I think it even goes into some weird stuff like forced organ harvesting and stuff, so it should be interesting. Yeah, more to come on Never Let Me Go. But wait, there's more. Lonesome Dove, this was a book that was recommended to me by Nikki. Thank you, Nikki, for telling me about this Western. I have been wanting to read a Western for quite some time now. I always thought it was going to be True Grit, but this sounded fantastic, really. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. It says it's part 3 of a saga, but I think you can read this alone. At least that was my understanding. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it's about yet as far as the main characters and stuff, but it looks really readable, and I'm excited to spend some time in a Western again. Somebody's hair in the book. Okay, well, I'll clean that out later. This was also secondhand from eBay, but it's in more or less excellent condition, so very excited about that. One of my goals of last year was to read more Asian literature and history. So I found a wonderful class online taught by a Japanese gentleman named Ikuya. I'll link to his Instagram in the description. But what he does is he teaches people all over the world remotely online, and he goes over different short stories by different Japanese authors and tells you about the history of the time period it was written in, the author's life, and major themes in the stories. And then there's a great discussion segment of the class where you can hear other people's interpretations. So I've already read a couple of stories in this book, and I signed up for some more classes. So that's going to be super fun, and that's going to be this month and next month. So maybe I will talk about some of those stories I've read in February. The Complete Cosmic Comics by Italo Calvino. I don't think I've shown this book in any video, maybe a live stream. This is one I actually bought last year, but I don't think I ever showed it. So this is quite an interesting book. It's a bunch of short stories that are, well, quite a few of them anyway, are narrated by this enigmatic narrator who, it's not really clear who or what he is, but he's telling the story of his life and different scenes from his life in this framework, which is space inspired and uses different, different snapshots or moments in time of the evolution of the world. So one thing I will say is you don't have to believe in the theory of evolution to enjoy this book, because it's really about human relationships and characters and feelings in people's lives. Again, it's very difficult to describe. I enjoyed quite a few of the stories from this first part I read last year, which were A Sign in Space, Games Without End, and The Dinosaurs. Those were 3 of my favorites. So this year I will be finishing this book. Last couple books here are a bit more obscure. They're for a Reading Around the World project that I'm doing with a friend, and we chose these because they are from specific countries. So Jacob von Gunten by Robert Walser. I'm not sure if that's how you say his name, but this book looked really interesting. It's published by New York Review Books, and they tend to have not only beautiful presentation, but interesting and more obscure selections. So let me just read you the back here. Jacob von Gunten is a 17-year-old runaway who enrolls in a school for servants. The institute is a deeply mysterious place. The faculty lies asleep in a single room. The students, though subject to fierce discipline, come and go at will. Jacob, a spirited and subversive presence, keeps a journal in which he records his quirky impressions of the school, as well as his own enthusiasms and uncertainties, deliberations, and dreams. So, definitely getting into some dark academia territory. And I think that some people have compared him to Kafka, so I can't wait to see how strong those similarities are. And who knows, this could be a real hidden gem. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to reading this book by a Swiss author. All right, last but not least, Independent People by Halldór Laxness, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. This is a book from Iceland, and I believe it was first published in 1946, so it's not like super new. It's kind of in that sweet spot of literature. It's about this sheep farmer who wants nothing more than to raise his flocks unbeholden to any man, but when his spirited daughter wants to live unbeholden to him, what ensues is a battle of wills that is by turns harsh and touching, elemental in its emotional intensity and intimate in its homely detail. So, yeah, we'll see how this is. I think it's been compared to Kristin Lavrans's Daughter, which I did a little review of previously. So we'll see if I like this better or the same as that one. It's got like a nice format here. It looks like it's got these larger sections and then more like segments of those sections. So not like typical chapters, but like more like thematic chapters. Anyway, that should be good. And it'll be interesting to see too, what are the, I guess, Icelandic elements or themes that come through in this book. All right, that was my very long book haul. I actually had a few more books coming in the mail, but they were delayed. So I'm sure I'll just show them in future videos, and that'll be a surprise for you. So thanks for watching. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. It really makes my day to read your comments and see your interest in these books. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, a wonderful new year, and I'll see you next time.